Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we are diving into a truly profound journey. We're talking about the transition from a chaotic, completely cluttered mind to a deeply authentic life. And to do this, we're going to use an incredibly powerful ancient metaphor, the idea of the human soul as a vessel. We'll be pulling from different spiritual traditions, psychology, and even modern sports coaching to figure out how we can empty out the noise in our heads and finally find that elusive clarity in our hearts.
So I want you to ask yourself a pretty heavy question. Are you dying with your music still inside you? This thought was famously captured by the 19th century writer Oliver Wendell Holmes, and it's actually a core philosophy of legendary rugby coach Wayne Bennett. It brilliantly sets up the incredibly high stakes of a really short time here on Earth. The idea is that way too many of us spend our entire lives just, getting ready to live. We get so caught up in our own heads, trapped by self-doubt, fear, you name it, that our true potential, our unique music, never actually gets played. And before we know it, time simply runs out.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the cluttered human mind.
To understand exactly why our music stays trapped inside us, we first have to look at the modern crisis of our own psychology. We have to look at the chaotic, cluttered state of the human mind. Just consider the work of Bronnie Ware. She was a palliative care nurse who famously recorded the most common regrets of her dying patients. And I want you to notice what sits right there at number one. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself. Wow. This shows our deep, fundamental human desire to just be our true selves. Yet tragically, the absolute biggest regret at the end of life is realizing we hid who we really were just to meet the expectations of others, until it was literally too late.
Now, this internal struggle, it's definitely not a new phenomenon. In fact, ancient Jewish philosophy defines this internal friction as the Yetzer Hara. Roughly translated, it's an inherent human inclination towards selfishness or evil. But actually, scratch that, it's not really viewed as some demonic force. It's more of a natural physical inclination, kind of like the drive for food turning into gluttony. It's an innate pull that clutters our motives. Think of it as the noise of the ego. It's that little voice telling you to get unnecessarily defensive in an argument, or the one driving you to doom scroll for a quick dopamine hit instead of actually being present. It basically creates a massive barrier between our actions and our highest good.
So, what's the solution to all this mental clutter? Well, according to a really fascinating essay from Clear Channel magazine, the longest journey a person can make is actually a mere 18 inches. Yep, that is the anatomical distance between the human head and the human heart. For thousands of years, civilizations have built these massive empires of thought in what the essay calls the Cathedral of the Skull. But here's the thing, spiritual and personal change doesn't happen just by cramming more knowledge into your head. It happens when that knowledge finally makes the journey downward into the heart.
Let's actually put these two operating systems side by side. The head is driven by logic, sure, but it's also where fear, ego, and this toxic obsession with other people's opinions live. It's where we tend to hide behind perfectionism. The heart, on the other hand, operates completely differently. It is the center of genuine knowing, bravery, and compassion. It acts as a clear channel for authentic presence and service. So making that move from the left column to the right column, that is the ultimate goal of the 18-inch journey.
Which brings us to part two, the art of self-emptying. To actually make that 18-inch journey, the vessel of the soul has to undergo a process. Look, you can't fill a cup that's already full, right? We have to look at the painful but absolutely necessary art of self-emptying. We see this concept perfectly captured in Christian theology through the term kenosis. Kenosis is the act of voluntarily humbling yourself. It's the intentional self-emptying of your own ego, your desires, and your personal will, all so you can become entirely receptive to a higher, divine will. It's an act of surrender. It teaches us that to truly live a purposeful life, you literally have to stop trying to force your own agenda and clear out the ego to make room for something greater.
And it's not just a Western concept. We find exact parallels in Eastern philosophies too. Zen Buddhism, for instance, places a massive emphasis on mental decluttering, as highlighted in the Complete Idiot's Guide to Zen Living. Finding serenity means we have to cut through the chaos of daily life and moderate our desires. To live in the now, the present moment, we literally have to empty our minds of the heavy baggage of past regrets and all that anxious clutter about future worries.
But here's the catch. Emptying the vessel requires some radical honesty. We have to drop our most sophisticated illusions, especially the illusion that we need to be absolutely perfect before we can even begin. This quote absolutely hits the nail on the head. Perfectionism is not a high standard. It is a hiding strategy. We do this all the time. We dress our fear up in the fancy language of responsibility and high standards, telling ourselves, "Oh, not yet."
But that imaginary line of readiness you're waiting for, it recedes perpetually, just like the horizon. Perfectionism is literally just fear wearing a costume, and you have to empty that out.
Okay, moving on to part 3, guarding your inner world. So let's say you've actually managed to drop the perfectionism, quiet your ego, and empty out the noise. You've got this newly cleared inner space. But the work doesn't stop there. As they say, nature abhors a vacuum. We have to fiercely guard this newly cleared space. Dr. Nicholas Ellen provides a really great actionable methodology for this. He notes that Proverbs tells us to guard our hearts with all diligence, literally the way a prison guard watches a prisoner, because it's the control center of life. He breaks it down into 4 distinct active steps: protect, purify, provide, and promote.
Let's break those down real quick. First up, we protect. That means actively blocking the constant onslaught of worldly noise and negativity from the outside. Second, we purify the heart from the pride and double-mindedness that just naturally spring up from within us. Third, we actively provide our heart with wisdom, presence, and positive precepts. And finally, we promote a wise, sincere, and humble heart. By doing this active daily maintenance, we actually keep our internal channel clear of all that toxic clutter we were talking about.
And this brings us straight to the immense power of human free will. Jumping back to Jewish philosophy for a second, the Talmud teaches that while many things in life are completely out of our hands, our choice to be good or bad is entirely up to us. Guarding the heart isn't passive, it's an active, daily choice. It is the conscious, empowering decision to fuel your good inclination, known as the Yetzer Hatov, over that selfish Yetzer Hara we discussed earlier. It is the active, deliberate choice to maintain your vessel.
All right, let's wrap this up with part 4, letting the music play.
So finally, what actually happens when the vessel of the soul is emptied of ego, fiercely guarded against all that clutter, and ready to be filled with true purpose? To understand this, we turn to the 13th century Persian mystic poet Rumi. He uses this breathtaking metaphor of a simple reed. You see, a reed grows quietly in a riverbed, but to become a flute, it has to undergo a pretty painful transformation. It gets cut from its source, separated, and violently hollowed out. But here's the beautiful part. Only through this process of being emptied out can the reed become an instrument capable of producing hauntingly beautiful music. That emptiness isn't a void, it is the exact space required for the music to finally resonate.
Rumi famously wrote this incredible line about it. The sound of the reed is fire, not wind. What he's doing here is distinguishing between mechanical, empty expression, which is just wind, and authentic, emotionally charged communication, which is fire. True emotional depth, vulnerability, and successfully navigating the pain of our own hollowing out creates this fire. It is the essential spark of authentic living. It's the vital life force that distinguishes genuine, meaningful existence from merely surviving day to day.
Bringing it all the way back to where we started with Coach Wayne Bennett, he constantly warns his players that too many of us let the fear of judgment completely extinguish our fire. He says we spend our lives up on stage singing safe cover songs, just doing what everyone else expects, playing it incredibly safe, mimicking others. But to truly live, you have to be brave enough to sing your bold, authentic originals, even if they fail. If you don't let your unique music out, you literally stop yourself from ever being truly great.
And why does all of this matter so much? Because of this number right here, number 1. As we've seen across modern psychology, palliative care, Christian theology, Zen Buddhism, and ancient mysticism, the absolute number 1 regret of the human experience is dying with your music still locked inside your head. It's reaching the very end and realizing you never took that 18-inch journey from the head to the heart.
So I really want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. What if the thing standing between you and your life is not inadequacy, but the illusion that readiness must come first? Stop getting ready to live. Empty the vessel, guard your heart, and start letting your fire play today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.